I just watched Joker 2, and my god, do I have a lot to say about this. First of all, there's gonna be spoilers in this video for this movie, so if you haven't seen the movie or are actually going to watch it, then watch this video after. Can I just start off by saying I went into this movie with incredibly high expectations, not just because the main character is played by Joaquin Phoenix, but the fact that the first Joker is one of my favorite movies of all time, and I don't expect anything less from Joker 2. Generally, when you make a movie that is so incredible and so amazing, you would expect the sequel to be just as good, if not as good, maybe a little lower in quality. But for context, I gave Joker 1 a 10 out of 10, and I gave Joker 2 a 4. Now, I'm not gonna drag this video out and waste your guys' time, so let's just talk about why this movie is bad and why you shouldn't watch it. First of all, the pacing of this movie was kind of terrible. It was all over the place. There's two main thematic locations where the movie took place. One was a mental prison asylum, and the other was a courtroom. The majority of all of this movie took place in those two scenes, and it kind of felt like a back and forth. It just didn't really make a lot of sense. It wasn't well done, and a lot of the scenes just felt long and boring. There's a bunch of drawn out one shots and scenes that didn't really fit in with the movie. I understand the pacing they were going for because Joker was also slowly paced, but the thing about the first Joker movie is that it built up over the movie. There was an actual overarching story for it, and this movie really just felt like it was missing a story as a whole. It was just Joaquin Phoenix doing things throughout the movie that didn't correlate to his other actions in the previous movies. It was terrible. What I will say is there were some really solid scenes. For example, there was a scene with Arthur Fleck outside of the prison in the yard. It was raining really hard, and he was, well, crying, but it looked like he was laughing, of course, because of his condition. There was certain cinematography in this movie that was so well done, and of course, Joaquin Phoenix was an incredible actor, but unfortunately, these pros don't take away from the massive list of cons for this movie. Next, I want to talk about the musical part. When I found out this was a musical, I was a little bit nervous because the thing about musicals is a lot of times they're for a much younger audience, and if not much younger, they're at least for a PG-13 audience, and as we all know, Joker is known for being a rated R movie, and Joker 2 is also a rated R movie. So my question really is, who was this movie for? Because it wasn't for musical fans, and it also wasn't for Joker fans. And the thing about the musical, the songs that were in the movie for the majority of the time weren't actually even played as full songs. They were given like 20-second snippets, and then they backtracked on the song and then continued the pacing of the movie. And I think the songs are one of the reasons why the pacing felt so off, because whenever an important or serious scene was happening, whenever I was trying to empathize with Joaquin Phoenix's acting, a musical scene would just start and it would instantly take me out of it. It just felt so out of place, and honestly, it felt a little bit unserious. Don't get me wrong, I'm a huge fan of experimental content and TV shows. In fact, shows like Severance are one of my favorite shows of all time. Like, one of my favorite TV shows is Severance, and one of my favorite directors is Christopher Nolan, and they love doing experimental stuff like this. But experiments can fail, and when you're doing an experiment, you still have to take into account that you have a core audience, and you have to retain that core audience even when you're trying something new. The experiment only works when there's people there to actually enjoy it. If you take the experiment too far and get too lost in your own world, then you lose everybody. Now, if the music was used sparingly, it could have actually worked really well. The Joker's known for being a stand-up actor, and music can be a big part of his act, but it felt out of place and it didn't make sense, and the music was most definitely not used sparingly. It was all over the place. The movie just kept going and going and going, and it would not end. Now, I don't know why Lady Gaga was in this movie at all. Harley Quinn was just portrayed terribly, in my opinion. Obviously, this is a different interpretation of the Joker and Harley Quinn, but it was just poorly executed. She didn't really provide much value in the actual movie. The ending with their relationship also made me really upset because if you don't know, the way this movie ended was the Joker escaping a courtroom that was blown up by his fans. He goes to visit Harley Quinn a final time and says that they can escape together, but because he's dropped his mask and said that there is no Joker, Harley Quinn no longer wants to be with him, and she leaves. And then Arthur goes back to the prison where he was before, and he gets shanked, and allegedly the person that shanked him becomes the real Joker or whatever. I don't know what the director of this movie was going for, but they've massively failed their audience in multiple ways. This was really just a huge mess. I saw this really great tweet which covered how I feel about this movie really well. It said that if you watch the first Joker movie, you won't like this one, and if you didn't watch the first Joker movie, you'll absolutely hate this one. And once again, I don't know who this movie was made for because it really just seems out of place in its own universe. Anyways, let me know your guys' thoughts if you've seen this, and if you're not gonna watch it, let me know why. Have a great day and peace out.